Hello and welcome back to the UnPro Show. I'm here with Kyle today in the second ever episode of the UnPro Show. We're back. You didn't think we were going to make two, but we did. So Kyle, welcome to the show.
Rob, it's a pleasure to be on Unpro. I'm like super pumped. The first episode was a blast to see you and Ethan go at it, and I'm looking forward to episode 2. I couldn't pass it up.
It's going to be fun. We're going to get to a lot of stuff, but before we get to anything, are you UnPro? Are you somebody with creative energy, but you don't have a place to properly channel it? Do you have creative content ideas, but you don't have the skills necessary to create them? Are you trying to stand out in an industry that is overcrowded or nearly impossible to stand out in? Do you want to be on this show or a show just like it? Tell us about it. Link in bio. Are you UnPro? No credentials needed. We're going to go into our first game that we're doing here, or I guess our game of the week. And I wasn't sure what to title this, but it's basically just guess the athlete. And I'm going to give you a series of hints. Your main hint for everybody, all of these athletes played in Chicago at one point in time.
I'm excited for this, Rob. I can't mess this up. I've been mentally doing like prep, but I didn't know what the topic was. So I'm nervous, but I'm excited. I got to get these right, though. I got my Blackhawks jersey on. I'm ready to roll.
Sadly, there's going to be no Blackhawks. That was the one that got left off. It was because you were too much of an expert in that topic. So I had to throw you a little bit of a curveball. They're all Chicago athletes. You're going to get 3 hints. If you're going to get a hint. If you get it wrong, you get another hint. If you get it wrong, get another hint. If you get 3 strikes, you're done. You're trying to get 2 out of the 3 correct.
So there's 3 questions in total.
There's going to be 3 athletes. You're going to get 3 hints per athlete, or 3 strikes rather per athlete. All right. First one, all Chicago athletes. Hint number 1, he played basketball.
And now I have to guess.
Now you have to guess, yeah.
I'm going to have to go with, since the draft just happened, and I was very hyped to see all the number 1 overalls, Derrick Rose.
It's not Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose. Hint number 2, he had 2 nicknames, one of them being Hot Sauce, the other Freezes.
I'm used to Stacey King going crazy with the hot sauce takes, but the nickname Hot Sauce. And the other one was Freezes? Like
Freezes. The number 3-zis.
So he's got to be a 3-point. It's got to be Kyle Korver.
Kyle Korver. Look at that, Kyle. Look at that right there, right out the bat.
That's what we like to see.
Only needed 2 hints. All right. Number two. He played for the Bears. Go ahead.
Love it.
Go ahead.
Well, got to go with one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. The audience might not like this take, but Jay Cutler.
Not Jay Cutler. That was a fantastic guess. Not Jay Cutler. Hint number 2, he was on the team from 2010 to 2014. Just to give you a time frame.
Okay, so we know he played for the Bears. We know he's about a 5-year player. So played through a little bit of Lovie Smith, a little bit of Trestman.
Barely at the end.
He wouldn't even got to Fox at that point.
No.
I don't get the position, correct?
You do not get the position.
Okay. So actually, Jay Cutler would have fit that time, which is interesting. It wouldn't have been Earl Locker. He would have been gone. Lance Briggs.
Good guess. Incorrect.
Okay.
This hint should give it away. If it doesn't give it away, I'll be disappointed. He led the NFL in interceptions in 2012. Come on, Kyle. Come on. You got to know this.
I have a guy in my brain. I'm just trying to make sure it's like going through the options. Like, it can't. Peanut Tillman was never a big pick guy. In my head, I'm thinking of Tim Jennings. But hold on a second before I give you that final. I don't think it could have been any safeties. I'm going to go Tim Jennings.
It was Tim Jennings. Look at that. 2 for 2, Kyle. 2 for 2. That was impressive.
Got me nervous. I was on my 3rd hint. I couldn't have messed that up.
All right. 3rd guy. He played for the Cubs.
Okay. Yeah, I got to guess here. I'm always like waiting for the next one. Well, we got to go with the guy who just got his statue out in Wrigley Field. We got to go with Ryan Sandberg.
Not Rhino. Hint number 2, he was on the Cubs from 2007 to 2009.
Holy, this is a guy who won a division title. Maybe 2
won a division title, lost perfectly to the Dodgers, and Manny Ramirez hitting like 9 homers in 3 games.
Oh gosh. One of my favorite Cubs was in that era. I'm gonna go with Alfonso Soriano.
It was not Alfonso Soriano.
Okay.
Hint number 3, again, I think this should give this away. In 2008, he played first base, second base, third base, and outfield for the Chicago Cubs.
Holy cow.
Who was the utility guy?
Again, I'm going through some names in my head here. First base. Wow. There's a couple names I'm not guessing here, just so you know. I'm putting names out in the audience's attention. I'm thinking Terrio. I'm thinking DeRosa. I'm thinking Fontenot, but I think he was more of like a bench player. I don't think they would have brought Soriano in. Fukudome, that would have been after. I know Terrio played second short. I don't know if they moved him around. And then third was Aramis. I don't think he moved. Derek Lee was pretty much stationary.
Mm-hmm. There was one utility guy. There was one utility guy that did everything on that team.
And it was from 2007 to 2009, correct?
Yeah, and he did all those things in 2008.
I'm going to have to go with the Riot, Ryan Terrio.
It was not Ryan Terrio. It was Mark DeRosa. You literally said it. You literally said it. He literally did everything that year. He just played every position.
I didn't realize he moved all around like that.
Yeah, I know. Awesome. He was everywhere. When I was looking, I was like, oh, he really did all of this, huh? But there you go. There was your three. That was your game. That was guess this Chicago player. Pretty specific time period. Pretty specific guys.
Those are tough, Rob.
But I was thinking if you can get some semi-deep cut Chicago athletes. Kyle Korver, not that deep cut. Tim Jennings, only real Bears fans would know Tim Jennings. So that was a crazy 2012. And Mark DeRosa is an all-time Cub. So there you go. That was fantastic.
I disappointed my Cubs fans out there. I'm sorry. I got 2 out of 3.
I'm gonna send it to Sheehan directly. He's just gonna start crying. He's like, "Oh no, I know Mark DeRosa."
If he gets it, I'll definitely eat it. I'll let him go after me at that one.
All right, so moving on to our next segment here. After Kyle wins, so what? You are 1-0 in games so far. I have lost every game that I've created, but that's fine, I guess. We're moving into reviews. So basically, I'm just gonna read some reviews here with you, Kyle. We're just gonna basically laugh at these people. We're doing the United Center. Known for its glamour and its beauty. It's the home of the Blackhawks and the Chicago Bulls for people that don't know. So here we go. We're going to our first one. This is from T. Gurney. This is a 1-star review. T. Gurney here has 186 reviews, so he reviews everything. Wow. But this is what he's got. The United Center is the worst place to go for sporting events if you want to pay $6.50 for a hot dog that who knows what's in it. Quick, massive timeout for me right there. Vienna beef hot dogs are fantastic. 100%. If
you're going to a game like in a Chicagoland sport, you have to get the hot dog. Like it's just a must.
Who knows what's in it? Whatever Vienna beef puts in there, they know what they're doing. And I'm going to trust what they're doing. I'll pay $6.50 for a Vienna beef hot dog and enjoy myself. Gosh.
If that's the worst thing that happened to that man, I know it is what it is. Like there is way worse menu items you could be getting at the UC or any Chicago stadium for that matter. But carry on.
Continuing here for a dog that who knows what's in it, or a $10 crowd control beer. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what a crowd control beer is. Also, $10 for a beer is I think standard when you're at a sporting event. Mm-hmm. Or how about a round of drinks for $40? Or how about give the people a fair freaking price for food and drink, United Center, you ripoffs. Ooh. I've been to many different stadiums, and you are the highest priced I've ever been to. LA, maybe. When your teams are good enough for those prices, you could charge them, but not now. Cut off there for that guy. But
that's very fair. That guy was, what was his name one more time?
T. Gurney.
Very
excited about the prices.
There's a town in Illinois called Gurney. But anywho, I will say this to this guy. I was hoping you'd bring up some of the menu items at the UC, because I think if you ranked all the stadiums up at as concession prices are concerned, mm-hmm. I think the UC might actually be close to the top, if not the very top. And one of the things that the United Center gets away with, which is something, here's a secret for you guys who go to the United Center, is you go to the concessions, right? You're buying a beer, you're buying whatever. If you're say, I'm done. Okay, they turn the thing around for you. Hey, here's pay with your card. Yeah. It'll go and actually tip automatically for you. So to actually give them like 30, 20%, whatever the highest percent they can give is. So my buddy and I go sit down. He's like, my beer was $30. I was like, well, you didn't change the tip on there. Like, by the way, I'm all about tip, just so you guys know out there in this audience.
Huge
tipper. When they do 30% on that, this is what this guy's complaining about. They add on that automatic 25%. So hey, if you're watching,
there's that. But to me, in my mind, $6.50 for a hot dog, $10 for a beer, and $40 for a round of drinks. Go ahead and beat that at any other NBA stadium. You're not going to.
Right.
It's not the worst thing ever.
It's so the hot dog I wouldn't be complaining about, depending on what beer he got. I don't know, what kind of beer he got.
He's probably getting some Goose Island.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry, T. Gurney, but I think we might beat you on this one. The Chicago dog is just an automatic. Beers you can get anywhere.
$6.50 for a Vienna beef hot dog. I would pay $6.50 for a Vienna beef hot dog because I don't live in Chicago anymore. So I would like to have one. To me, that's absolutely.
You got to get the Chicago dog. Make sure you put everything on it too. Every single thing, Rob. The Chicago dog. Those people out there just put ketchup on it.
They're actually not
Can't
that
do it.
bad. They're actually not that bad. You gotta like embrace it though the first time you do it because there's a lot of stuff on there.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff
But
on there.
it's
But
actually not that bad.
I will tell you, I won't do the sports peppers. So for all those out there that like sports peppers underdogs, I will not do that. Everything else I will go for. I'll do the tomato. I'll
I'll
do the
just do it
salt.
all.
Do it all.
If you're gonna do it, just do it all in my mind.
Fair enough.
All
All
right.
right, T. Gurney. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, T. Gurney. Moving on to review number 2. This is just from me, not from me, but from the name me.
Oh,
And I'm convinced that this might be somebody that was at this specific event. I think you'll remember when this happened, Kyle. So this review is for each and every person who booed at Mrs. Krause. I hope you all are eventually barred for life from the United Center and anywhere else the Bulls play. I am an old woman, but I wish I would have been seated next to any one of you. This is just Mrs. Krause, is it not? Is this not Mrs. Krause?
it actually might. I remember watching that ceremony. I remember it was one of the more exciting things that was happening for the Bulls season, let alone like all Chicago sports. Because right now, if you know anything about Chicago sports, we're in a huge like dry spell, just horrible experiences all the way around. But this night was like what, February, March. They were doing a huge ceremony for was all the
they were opening up the Ring of Honor, but they didn't bring Jordan, so it was like everybody else minus Jordan because he was busy that day, I guess. But they brought in Jerry Krause, they brought in the wife of Jerry Krause because Jerry died. Mm-hmm. And if you watch The Last Dance, you know all about Jerry Krause and how that whole thing happened, where he built the Bulls, tore it down too early, and everybody got mad at him. So he just got booed the rest of his time there. So they bring Mrs. Krause up there, and the whole crowd boos her.
Here, represented by his wife Thelma, Basketball Hall of Famer and former Bulls general manager Jerry Krause.
Which is just
I was gonna say, what is your perception of that? Because obviously I got mine and I watched it. Did you obviously watched the ceremony as well?
Yeah, I did.
What was your experiences of that?
To me, it's just that's what Bulls fans do is they boo the Krauses. That's what happens. You came there, you had to expect that. You can just say no. You can just say no, I don't want to go.
You know, that's a great point. I never looked at it that way. I'm like, you probably would have had some. I mean, you're not going to have perfect 100% unity with whatever side you were. You're going to have some boos. You're going to have some people that are going to respect you. But I mean, it was a pretty good chunk of the fans that were like in a chorus of booing.
It was pretty good. It was just an all-time just random thing that happened. But
you say a good point. You say a good point. Like, what do you expect? Is kind of a good way to look at it. But also, it's on the Bulls owner. It's on Jerry a little bit because Jerry knew that was going to happen. And you're going to trot Mrs. Krause out there being really old. You knew that was going to happen, Jerry. And I think you wanted the organization a good look, and certainly like nationally, like the performance of the team, some of the decisions they're doing, like on that scale, hasn't helped, and certainly that ceremony didn't help either. So
it also hurts when the Bulls are kind of irrelevant, where they're stuck in the middle forever. So that also is part of it. That's also kind of why that happened. It wasn't really directed specifically at Mrs. Krause. It's mostly just the Bulls getting booed.
Absolutely. As a whole. Right. And so, Mrs. Krause, if that was you, we are truly, I'll say this as a Bulls fan, Rob's a Bulls fan, no hard feelings. We're sorry. We were both not there. I would like to say that. But definitely an interesting ceremony. And I'm sure the Bulls fans would be like, yeah, we're not very proud of that moment. But like, what did you expect, Rob? You said it best.
I mean, you are Mrs. Krause, so. All right, moving on to our third and final review here. We got Sharita Pullen, and this is 1 star. She said, "My teen daughters attending Little Dirk's concert. I thought it was an all-age concert in a smoke-free environment. Them, along with classmates, came out of the concert reeking of marijuana. I was freaking livid. Emailed guest relations, no response. Followed with a call and was pacified with something from the concession stand, and it was a direct insult to me and my children." Your daughter went to a Little Dirk concert, and everyone was smoking weed at the Little Dirk concert. How was that the United Center's fault?
Yeah, only thing I could think about from this parent's view was that they probably thought that most of those things would be confiscated when they go inside. But we all know, like, one, Illinois being legalized marijuana, the kids are going to bring those in all day, every day. And then the second thing is vapes are just so commonplace now that, again, they just get through. They don't think they even like care if you bring them in. So, I don't know. And you add on the Little Dirk piece of it, like, it's a concert and people are there
It's a
to
little Dirk
probably
concert
do
in
that.
Chicago. I don't know what you thought was going to happen there. I think it's kind of on her just for not understanding things. And to me, the best part about this is they said that they pacified her with something from the concession stand. So that means they like gave her like a salted pretzel or something. And we're like, all right, we're sorry that your kids are really high and smell like weed. Here's a pretzel. And that was
Oh
supposed
my
to make it better.
gosh.
But I
Yeah,
guess she took the
interesting.
pretzel because I think she ate it, whatever she got. So
Hey, you got a free pretzel out of it. Is it that bad of an experience?
I'm
Now,
sure for the kids it was a great experience. A
if
free
they were
pretzel and
blowing
free weed.
smoke right at them, like all right, well, that might be a little bit, as a parent, you're like, whoa, get away. Like, can you at least blow it the other way? But like, there's a lot of points to where you're walking in stadiums, you're walking in the UC and Chicagoland area, and you're always, I feel like all the time, gonna at least smell a few whiffs of marijuana or some vape pen in your face. Like, it just happens. There's 20,000 fans trying to enter that UC.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen at some point.
Especially at a concert. Like, and it all things a little Dirk concert. You have to know what's going to happen there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. So, sorry for that person, but again, it's called,
I'm not concerned about them. That was all self-inflicted. Every inch of that was self-inflicted. So
you're not wrong.
All right, moving on to everybody's favorite segment. This is the news. We had a lot of stuff happen this week in sports, but let's start with what we're recording this on Thursday. Let's start with what happened in the last 2 days, the NBA draft. And to me, the story coming out of this was, I guess the NBA is just a French league now. We just have a bunch of French guys just that are the best players now. I don't know. It's all the rookies are French.
Well, then, of course, yeah, I agree with you. Like, NBA is definitely transitioning to an international landscape.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, especially not even just looking at it from this draft perspective. You're looking at some of the top players in the league nowadays, and it's the Luka Doncic we just saw in the NBA Finals, Jokic, who won the year before, Lowry Markkanen, like all these guys that are coming in over the seas.
Laurie gets shut before Giannis, which is pretty good.
Giannis I try not to talk about Milwaukee because I get enough of that from Chicago. Anywho, it's just a cool. It's cool, and it's a lot of just it's a changing of the tide of the NBA. Yeah. Like the way that you can enter the league nowadays isn't just one route. There's so many different paths that you can enter.
Yeah, that was like specifically Alex Sarr. He was everywhere. Like he played in France, he played in America, and then he played in Australia. Like he was all over the place. And then he still ends up being one of the top picks. I think he's going to be fantastic. I think that he went to a pretty good spot there in Washington where he can kind of like get built around. And they're able to build the defense around him. I think that's what you have to do with guys like that have that kind of upside. I really, really like Alex Sarr.
You're big on Sarr. Okay.
I don't know what to think about Zach Risache. I
was going to bring this up to you. So did you see the shout out from my boy Frank Mason over in Kansas? We both went to Kansas, by the way, if you guys aren't familiar. Rob and I went to KU, Jayhawks for life over here. Frank Mason tweets out, I follow him, says, I played with Zach Risache in France this past season, and I don't get how that guy is good, but basically saying, I don't get how this guy is the first overall pick.
Wow. And I'm going to take Frank's word for it. Wow.
He's gotten a lot of heat, I will tell you. But it's also kind of funny to see like his thought on that. I thought that was kind of an interesting point. Because I think a lot of the league's perspective, especially all these GMs nowadays, they're not as looking at players who are defined and have had success. They're looking for guys that they can mold and have guys at like age 18 or 19. And they'd rather have these guys that they can build.
For a while. Because you're basically just betting on the frame and you're betting on his ability to make shots. But it's like I kind of agree with Frank. Like there's nothing there that I love as like the number one pick. Like, and it's like, can you think of any number one picks other than Anthony Bennett that are worse? That at least coming up, you could say, oh, there's been all these busts, Markelle, all those guys like that. Right. I mean,
Greg Oden.
Well, Greg Oden was awesome. That's the thing. Like he was awesome. Like I'm saying, like going into the draft, like I don't know. I don't think anyone's necessarily excited about it. Like if you're a Hawks fan and you're like, yeah, we got Zach Risache. I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah, I can't say you're wrong, dude. And it's like one of those things where we got to see it to believe it. Like when I'm seeing all these international players come over, it's hard to watch them. It's like, yeah, you got to watch French League to go watch these guys, all the time. Yeah. Well, it's not my focus. I'm watching college and I watch a little G League, right? Or summer ball or like things like that. And it's just one of those things where until you kind of see it in face, you're not going to really know how their game's going to be. And especially translating, right? Like it's all about translating to the NBA.
Yeah.
It's one thing to do it in the leagues that you're in, college, French League, G League, but until you actually get to the big dance, then that's really where it's going to come down to are you going to be good or not? Right? You're going to
Yeah.
see it in front of you. So
Like, are you just like a French great player, or are you a really actually good NBA player?
let's shout out one more French guy from last year. I mean, Wembanyama did make the transition. So like
Because he's a freak. He's a freak. But
he's got that size.
Talking about the Spurs and Wemby, I think that their pick of Stephon Castle is one of the best in the draft, in my opinion. I think he is one of the highest upsides out of anybody in this draft because to me, it starts with basketball IQ, frame, and desire. And to me, he checks all those boxes at a high level. Like Jaylen Brown coming into the league, they're like, oh, he doesn't have a jump shot. Doesn't affect Jaylen Brown now. He's one of the better jump shots in the game. He was hitting all these mid-range jump shots late in games in the finals. So I can see like a better Drew Holiday almost from Castle. I think that he has kind of upside. When you get to when you get to not be the main focus, like when you're on a team with Wemby, I think he's going to skyrocket. I mean, he already won. I think he's going to be probably one of the best players to come out of this draft, actual, real, all-star potential.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that take a lot. I mean, coming out of UConn, he won 2 natties. He's about to slot right into the lineup. I mean, that's the thing with a lot of these rookies, man, is, you could be a first-round pick, but then you're seeing 20 minutes a game. What do you do with those 20 minutes? And, we've seen guys, I love that you guys gave the shout-out last week to Christian Brown, guy who hasn't played in the rotation a ton of minutes, but when he does get to take those times in the game, he's taken full advantage of it.
Yeah.
Stephon Castle's going to get the runway.
I think he's going to get as many minutes as he can get off the bat because there's no one else out there. Oh, we got to get minutes to Trey Jones. I think we're around the Trey Jones minutes.
I don't know many Spurs other than Wemby and my boy DT Graham. I think's down there, but that's all I know. I don't know many Spurs.
There's not that many Spurs guards. Like that was one of the big things they needed. I think they knocked it out of the park. So talking about the other UConn guy that got drafted, Klingon goes into Portland. So does that mean that Ayton's out? They're just done with DeAndre Ayton. Klingon's our guy. We're going forward.
You think so, right? I mean, I don't anticipate.
I really like Klingon. I think he's got some six size. I think he moves well for his size. That's one of the knocks. Was like he doesn't move great. I was like, did anyone watch the NCAA tournament? He was moving fine. He was moving better than a lot of guys his size move. He's, I think, elite rim defender off the bat, which that's hard to get. That's hard to find.
100%. I agree with you. I don't necessarily think they're going to keep both. Now,
probably not. They also have,
I don't know,
Robert Williams, just to throw another wrench into that. They have 3 centers now. So I don't know. There's more moves coming in Portland. I guess that's all we really had to say.
Yeah. I mean, Ayton came over from Phoenix for a while. Was he playing there?
He was part of the Drew Holiday 3-way trade. So it was Drew Holiday went from Portland to the Celtics and Ayton went from the Suns to Portland.
Yeah, and Klingon, I mean, in that draft, he slid what? He was supposed to be
a little
top
bit.
5.
It was just like no one even knew where people were supposed to go. So
that was the biggest thing with this draft, guys, is like there's so many guys that were unpredictable and we didn't really know where they were going. I think the first 3 you mentioned with Sarr, Risha Shea, Sarr, and then Reed from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Also, I think he's going to be great. Those were kind of solidified, and then everything else was just kind of like,
It was
what's going to happen?
It was like, what are the Spurs going to do? Are the Spurs going to move? I thought the Rockets were going to move. So I don't know. The whole thing was kind of like, it just kind of went, and then there wasn't a ton of movement. I thought there would be more.
But also, shout out to these 2 places before you do is I hate to do these because they're technically 2 blue bloods, but shout out to Kentucky Wildcats fans for getting 2 guys in the top 10. I feel like Coach Cal, it's the one thing he can pride himself on for Kentucky times is he'll get players into the NBA. That's for sure.
He was really good at that. He was really, really good at that.
Couldn't win though.
Except for that one time. Except for that one time when he won.
And the second thing is, don't talk about that. The second thing is UConn. Obviously, just having the success that they've had, like Castle and Klingon, top 10 pretty much, right? Top 10 picks. Mm-hmm. That's incredible.
Top 7 picks. They were both great. Yeah.
Awesome to see. Mm-hmm. That's like tremendous. That's just kudos to the schools at that point.
Yeah.
Did a good job.
It's because, like as a Kansas basketball fan, it's like, at some point we get tired of all this winning. Or like somebody else come in and have some of this winning. It's too much for us.
Yeah. Shout out KU Jayhawks next year.
Preseason number 1. All right. Moving on to my next take here is going from one big man in Klingon to the other. Zach Edey goes in the top 10 to Memphis. People were saying this was kind of a reach. People saying this was kind of like an aggressive pick. I think that Zach Edey's going to be the best center to come out of this draft. at least in the beginning part. Saar might pass him. A couple of guys might pass him. But for the first couple of years, Edie's already such a good center, and he's so big. Like this thing, you can't teach someone being 7'4", 300 pounds. No one's that big. And he moves fine. And he's just going to dominate on the offensive glass, I think. He's going to set a ton of screens. Like, his role doesn't have to be that big. He's going to come out 12 and 10, probably his first year, and that's going to be excellent.
I agree with you, Rob, and this is tough for me to say considering I had to sit next to a Purdue friend of mine for the whole NCAA season. Shout out
That's
to you,
just
buddy.
sad.
But
that's just sad. You have to
it was a run for the ages for Purdue Boilermakers fans. 2 years natty title, not natty title. Goodness, I'm jumping the gun on that. Two national player of the years for Zach Edey. I honestly have never seen a force like him.
Oh, I know.
Dominate games. You take away him, and they aren't going anywhere.
No, they probably weren't even a
sorry,
tournament
Purdue, but
yeah, maybe
as far
like
as the translation to NBA, I mean, going to play with John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., like they had a down year, Memphis, and they're playing obviously in the toughest conference in the West. But to have Zach Edey kind of in that lineup, John Morant's coming back. Do they still have
I
Dylan
think they're going to be a
Brooks?
force to reckon with, and like I said, I think his role is going to be big. So just moving into one last NBA thing, and then we're going to move into the NHL because literally we crowned a champion in the NHL.
Absolutely.
It's just I guess all of the Villanova guys are on the Knicks now. I guess that's just a thing.
The Nova Knicks. They still kind of try to haunt me, man, after the 2018 time that they destroyed my KU Jayhawks to now they're apparently in the NBA. Here's a sorry Stephen A. Smith take here. You know, Stephen A. back in the day used to say that the Villanova Wildcats that never would have any sort of NBA players come out of those teams. And little do we know now they are a team in their own right. So I don't know. I mean, it's crazy that the way that they've had success this last season was really cool to watch. Jalen Brunson went berserk, Illinois product, by the way. It's just cool to watch. It's just really, really nice to see Tom Thibodeau have success.
That's the one thing that brings you back to the Knicks. Is like, I do kind of like watching Tibbs be successful. And now he has so many guys. Excuse me. I don't think he can run them all into the ground. I think that he has enough guys now where he's not going to be able to make everybody just completely dead by the end. So I think it might actually work. Like, I could see the Knicks for sure being in the Eastern Conference Finals. And basically they have to beat the Celtics. And it's going to probably come down to health. And
I was going to say, do you think, I mean, they're all in. Like, did you see the trade from Mikal Bridges?
It was
4
unprotected
first, 1 protected, a swap if they want it. Like, they are full chips on the poker table.
Yeah.
And they're going all in. So, like, I don't know, man. If they don't win then they're in some trouble for the foreseeable future. I don't know if they can get by the Celtics still with that team.
We'll see. I think it's going to be fun to think that it might happen. And I'm just going to go on the train to think that it might happen.
I will say I'm rooting for Thibs. I mean, he had an awesome tenure in Chicago. And the other thing I will tell you is one other team that could give them a run for their money. They have to be healthy, which is the key thing you guys said last week. The Bucks. I mean, if they are healthy, they can run with them.
They're going to kind of fly under the radar this year a little bit, where it's going to be like, no one's really thinking about them. Yeah, that is definitely.
Giannis is that other freak of nature. Yeah, pairing him with Damian Lillard, they just weren't healthy. So we'll see.
Yeah, and also Doc Rivers, but that's a whole other can of worms. I don't want to open up the whole Doc Rivers is a bad coach thing, but that's true, and no one can argue with that.
Is this our last take on the draft, Rob? Are we done with draft? Can I just say one more thing? Because I have to shut up. This is a Chicago sports fan, and me, and you are obviously as well. I want to make sure I pronounce his name right because it was incredible to see his reaction in the NBA draft. Matez Buzelis from the Chicagoland kid.
Buzelis. Yep.
Chicagoland kid. Seeing his reaction with the interviewer right after he got drafted was probably I think he got voted the most emotional.
Oh yeah, cool. And he also was from Chicago. Got picked.
It was cool to see.
It was such a cool thing.
It was cool to see that his desire to play. The Bulls need players like this. They need guys who are actually going to like drive every single day.
Yeah, we actually have 2 Chicago guys. We have Io and Matas or Mattis Buzelis. There you go.
So
we're going to learn your name, Mattis. I promise, because you're going to be good.
You are a fan. Or I'm a fan of you automatically, just based on that reaction. That. So
please, 2 fans.
Please kill it.
Good.
Please kill it.
All right, moving into the NHL, we have a little bit of time right at the end just to get into some NHL. First off, congrats to Florida. You guys won. I'm sure everyone in Miami was hyped. All those Miami hockey fans really, really liked that. I'm sure they had a good time because, it's the same thing as the Oilers and all of their fans. It's the same amount of people, I'm sure. So congrats to you guys.
Yeah, Florida Panthers first Stanley Cup in franchise history. I mean, I remember watching. Obviously, I got my Blackhawks jersey, huge Hawks fan. I remember watching back in the day. Like, started watching hockey probably 15 years ago, almost. It's crazy to say, but back then, Florida Panthers were kind of a down franchise. Not a lot of
They were
fans were coming to
down
those
for
games.
a long time.
There was
They were
concern
never
that they were
good.
actually going to pull out of that sunshine area in Florida, and move out of that spot, transfer somewhere else, different city. But obviously to see them get to the cup, I can't complain. I was definitely rooting for them over Edmonton. Any Canadians watching this? Not really sorry, but it was cool to see. Definitely a series that I thought was going to be pretty lame when they run up 3-0 and we're like
I thought the
kicking
same
butt.
thing. Yeah.
And then Edmonton obviously made it a fun little run at the end and made it a game 7.
It basically ties into my next thing I want to talk about here is it was not a series, and then all of a sudden McDavid comes out, back-to-back 4-pointers, which is just insane. And then he wins the Conn Smythe. Like, I'm curious just to hear your thoughts on this. Like, it's got to be the worst thing ever, I think, to win the Conn Smythe and not win the actual cup.
He was not happy. Like, obviously he didn't come out to accept the trophy.
No.
Like, he's obviously in the locker room really, really upset.
Led the playoffs in scoring and broke Wayne Gretzky's assist record for a playoffs. The winner of the Conn Smythe is Connor McDavid.
Understandably so.
Yes.
But one of the things that I think the NHL looked at was, of the best playoff runs in NHL history, McDavid's name was etched above Gretzky for most assists in a playoff run.
True.
And he was like, maybe 4th of the most points of like any playoff run as well.
Yeah,
so like looking at that, the NHL
run.
said, I don't think we cannot give it to him based on that.
I don't know.
Is it upsetting for the Panthers fans? Obviously, they came down with some boos as the Conn Smythe was given to McDavid. That was kind of a funny sight. But like, yeah, I mean, those have only been 6 players in NHL history that have actually done that. One the Conn Smythe with a losing
and lost, but he was the second skater ever. It was like the first time in 50 years that like a skater won the Conn Smythe without winning. I think you just got to give it. You got to give it to the winning team. I don't care if it was the best run ever. He didn't win. He doesn't want it. Just give it to somebody on the team. In that way, it just goes down. No one thinks about it ever again. It wouldn't be a story. No one would even like be concerned about it. It would all be about the Panthers. Like, to me, it takes away from the Panthers story because you added another story on top that's almost even bigger. Like, it's almost like a bigger deal that McDavid won the Conn Smythe but didn't win the cup, as opposed to Florida winning their first cup in their history. So to me, it took away from them. So you got to give it to them because it's their moment. Let them win. Don't drag the guy out that's literally like pretty much in tears because he was so close to winning his first cup and he came up short. Like,
no, I get you're absolutely the other side of that coin, and I agree with you and that point. Like, if I was the team of Florida and I just won the cup and I'm watching like them announce the Conn Smythe, all your teammates are gathering around kind of waiting to see who it is, and they go Connor McDavid. There's like, all right, like go back to like hugging everybody and wait for the cup to come out.
Yeah.
So
it's because like I get it was a great run, but to me, like I said, I think it kind of takes away from it. And then you had a point here, Kyle, that I'd like for you to expand on. You said a quote: "The Stanley Cup is the best trophy in sports." Go ahead.
The best trophy in sports. Like, there isn't even a debate in here, Rob, and I'm excited for you to give the other side. But the idea of the trophy being a transferable trophy from year to year, every time a team wins, the cup goes back to the handlers, right? There's people actually keep this trophy as their job all year long.
It's a pretty sick job.
White gloves and just, watch where this thing goes.
Just clean it constantly.
This trophy is 37 pounds, has all the previous names of the Stanley Cup champions. I think it's like you get 30 plus members on it, every team that wins. And the trophy just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I always ask like family members, I'm like, is there a chance that this cup can like no longer hold teams after it gets a certain point?
I think there's technically like 3 or 4 cups. So they're never going to run out of space. They're just going to keep making new cups.
I get you there. Some of these premises like of that, and then that every player gets a day with the cup every time, you see them win and they all lift it afterwards and like kiss it. You can eat in it, drink in it, have your own son or daughter in it. It just, the memories that are created from that trophy are like no other. Most of those other trophies, you're like, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, you keep it. Like the team keeps the trophy and they do a new trophy.
Like in whatever, the Boston Celtics trophy room is all their trophies. For the Patriots, they got all their. I don't know. I did 2 Boston teams. Whatever. All of their championships are all held up there, but not the cup. So yeah, I actually can't disagree with you. I think it's also one of the hardest trophies to physically win. I think it's just the amount of effort that goes into it. Like if you can talk about skill, you can talk about whatever goes into it, assembling the right team. Just straight up, I think effort. No one's trying harder than those hockey guys to win that cup. So I think that's, to me, why it's the best trophy in sports. The fact that it gets transferred around is just fantastic. And the fact you can drink out of it. You can't drink out of any of the other ones. The worst trophy in sports is the MLB trophy. That thing's a piece of junk. Just a bunch of flags. No one
Let's
cares
not talk about that one.
stupid
Or the
trophy.
MVP trophy that Mitch Trubisky was hoisting over the
Oh, the
Nickelodeon
MVP?
channel.
I don't know. The only ran the MVP. That was just
There's a lot of
random shot
trophies out there,
ourselves.
man, you know? So that's my take on it. You know, I would be curious if your fans have comments on what they think the best trophy is, but
I think
I
it's hard
just
to
think
argue
if
with.
you're to win a trophy, like you put yourself in a position like you're just a great player. You could do NFL, MLB. You had to lift one trophy. If you had one choice of picking a trophy that you could win, I just think the celebration that you would have with that thing is just so unique.
I mean, it's hard to argue with any of that. I absolutely love the Stanley Cup. So I guess congrats to the Panthers again.
Go Panthers.
Go Panthers. All right. And just moving into one last thing here before we close. It's just this one piece of news that came out today that I thought was really, really weird. Was that the Team USA U20 tackle football team lost to Japan. How are we losing to tackle football on an international scale? What is going on?
I just can't believe it. I'm very disappointed. It seems like what international is getting overtaken by in basketball. Now international is taking us on football. If you look at some of the ways,
guys,
if you look at the ways you can enter that league, I looked at like the ways you could sign up. You literally just put in your measurements. You show a couple highlights, and you hopefully get on the roster. So I was thinking about it, Rob. I was thinking about putting myself as 6'4", like 215 or something. I might get drafted.
What team could you qualify for? Like, if you had to submit your tape to like one of the international teams, like what do you submitted? Like the Team Ireland, like who are you submitted to?
Probably the D squad, whatever I can make. Not very good squad.
But just real quick shout out to Tase Urishibara. He had 17 carries for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns on the Team USA defense. So he ran ruckus all over the Team USA defense. So I guess shout out that guy. All right. But that is the UnPro Show this week. Thank you, Kyle, so much for coming on.
Rob, I can't thank you enough.
Absolute
You're
blast.
killing it. This show is so awesome. I'm looking forward to continue to watch it.
It's going to be good. And we'll have you back on. I think we're going to have you back on next time with Sheehan. So we're going to have our first probably 3-person interview then. Talk about some baseball because it'll be baseball season in the deep part of summer by then. But that's what I got. Thank you all for watching this far. If you made it, as you know, your reward, best roast gets $5. That is dead serious. Best roast in the comments gets $5. I will hand deliver it to you in cash. Best roast gets $5.
Sounds good, Rob. Thank you very much. Peace.